Episode number 1.
Season 3, episode 1. Welcome to the TDWG podcast. My name is Paul Davidson.
And I am Scott Norman, and we have special guest with us today, Miss Linda Priggel.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, and so today we're actually going to talk about our COVID experiences. All three of us have had COVID-19.
And we survived.
Yes, we survived. And we realized the first week back at school, whenever we were just doing our teacher meetings, that people, one, were treating us like leopards, which is understandable. And then two, you have a COVID story. You have the story about how you got it and then what it was like having it. So we figured we might as well share with all of you our COVID stories.
And our students have been asking as well. I don't know about you, but in class, every time a student finds out that that's true, they're like, wait, what? How was it? So
and then you gotta go in the whole rigmarole of everything.
Getting it all out of the way here, and we decided this time we're going to go chronologically.
Mm-hmm. And I believe Miss Linda was the first one of the three of us to have COVID-19.
I think I was.
So you started the trend here.
Yes.
So tell us about it. How did this happen here?
Well, one of my college students was at a party, and there was a student from the University of Missouri at that party who had come from Quincy, Illinois, visiting a friend from the University of Missouri, and that's where that person got it. So on her way to the lake of, Norfolk Lake, that young lady started feeling bad. And she decided that it was my daughter's birthday. Okay, so they were coming to celebrate my daughter Alexa's birthday. And so she decided to come on because, it didn't matter that she was feeling bad. They're in college. They don't care when they're feeling bad.
Yeah, they're young and invincible.
They are invincible. So she came on, and apparently she gave it to like all 13 people there.
Yeah, just to show you how contagious it is.
Very contagious.
Yes, it is. And so that young lady left, and then my daughter came home. And she wasn't aware that she was really tired for some reason. She just thought she was really tired from her birthday party. And so was living at the house with all of us. And we get the call about Friday afternoon that young lady had tested positive, the one that had visited the friend in Quincy that had COVID. Yeah.
And so now it's time for the tests then.
Right. So my daughter goes and gets a test, and some of the other people, and it's a rapid test, and we find out about 6:30 on a Friday evening. But she was exposed on Monday. So, so it's been like 5 days. So living in the house for like 5 days. So, So then, of course, so I'm like, man, I've got a runny nose.
Oh, no.
I've got a runny nose. So after she tested positive about 6:30 Friday, I decided to go ahead and get tested also the next day. And
did they give you a rapid test?
They did.
Curious.
Yeah,
okay.
They did because
they gave me the slow one.
As a lot of your viewers will know.
By the time we got to it, they weren't. Not everybody was allowed to take a rapid test.
Right. Because I was early on, guys. This is June. Okay, this is June, and so they went ahead. They weren't going to give me a rapid test, but I did share with them. We had about 35 students from Portageville School District over at our house to swim on Thursday. And so my daughter Jessica was also experiencing the same runny nose that I was experiencing. So I called the nurse practitioner. I was like, I really think I better get a rapid test because we had 35 people at our house.
We might have a mega spread event on our hands.
We may have. So that was kind of crazy, but anyway. So that's how I contracted it, through a college daughter, and then,
All right, and then how did you feel? You left out my favorite part of your entire story, where your husband just disappeared, as soon as he heard the whiff of COVID, just vamoosed.
Oh, you know that story. Okay, yeah. So anyway, so the next day when we are getting tested, he decides to go get tested as well. But me and Jessica drive in a different vehicle over to Poplar Bluff to get tested because he is scared that he will get it, right? And so,
rightfully so, I guess.
Yeah. I guess he's scared. He's really worried that he's going to die from COVID. Okay, and so we laugh about it now, but at the time
it was actually scary.
We were the first, people our age in this community that knew, that we had it. So he does. He decides that after we tested positive, that he is not going to live at our house anymore. My husband moves into a hotel. And then he comes by. He'll bring us food every now and again, right? But he comes by, and then he's like, when do you think I can move back in? And I'm like, hey, You're the one who moved out.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Yeah.
14 days.
Hey, that's a good sign that he wanted to move back.
Yeah, he was.
I'm not that bad of a person to live with. I don't think that was the problem. But he was a little bit nervous about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, he was just nervous about it. But no, I just had a runny nose for 3 days. I had a stuffy nose for 3 days. And then I do think the fatigue was real. I started feeling really tired like Sunday. I started experiencing my first runny nose Thursday. By Sunday, I was tired. I was like, I'm tired. So I would just sleep, and get up. And
Did you, I'm just curious, on the back end, did you have the taste thing?
oh, yes. Right. I lost my sense of taste and smell for about 10 days.
Yeah,
For about
okay.
10 days. Yeah. So anyway, that was crazy. But other than that, I did really well with it.
So yours was more about the chaos of all the activity and the wait, where did this come from? Where has it gone? All of that happening in the middle of the summer.
It was
and
It was like the very beginning of
being right at the start of all of it.
Yeah. And calling my boss to explain to him how he might want to shut down all the athletics at Portingsville School District because we've had 35 students at our house.
Now we want to clarify very loud and clear. This was way back in June.
This was June of 2020.
This is not recently. Everyone has since been cleared of it. Everyone is okay. Right. This is not something that happened in the last week. It was long before everything was cleared to come back to school. Everybody was okay from it. So just clarifying that if you didn't hear that earlier and you are now worried about it, everything is all clear. And I think chronologically that brings us to me. I think I was the second person to get it. We'd been following it a lot in looking at it because my grandmother actually had surgery on her knee, and so they were super worried about it. And so my grandparents were in hiding, and we were like, well, it's not really around here yet because it was still relatively early. And we were hanging out with some family friends of ours who had just found out they were pregnant. And so they were like, hey, come with us. We're going to drive over to East Prairie and have a meal at this restaurant there and everything, which, once again, all clear. This was a long time ago. And so we rode in the car with this couple to go eat. And as we're sitting there, I didn't put this together until later. I'm having a conversation with this guy, and he goes, man, this food just doesn't taste right. and at the time, I'm like, man, because he and I ordered the same thing. I was like, man, mine tastes great. This is good. Did not click at all that there was something wrong with his taste. So we ride at 45 minutes back, and 2 days later, my wife and I wake up in the morning. We're like, man, we just don't feel good. And we accidentally left the fan on, the ceiling fan in our room. We're like, maybe we're just stuffy because we left the ceiling fan on, allergies or something. And we actually got up and we went to church, but thankfully we were late. So we just snuck in the back and didn't shake hands or anything with it. Snuck in the back. And our son, who is 1 year old, our large son, as we tend to refer to him, he was just being really fussy that day. And so we were like, okay, we just need to leave. We're just causing a ruckus. We're just going to sneak right back out. So we snuck out. And thankfully, that happened because turns out throughout the day, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And finally, the next day, we were like, okay, we should probably get tested for this because my wife is a nurse and
she qualifies for rapid testing.
She qualified for rapid testing. So I actually got tested first because I had a fever. I had a really bad headache. I felt really miserable. It was kind of like a bad flu. And I was like, oh man, this just sounds too much like it. So I went and got tested, and then she talked to her work and everything, and it was kind of, she's a nurse. It was like, okay, maybe you should get tested. So she goes in and gets the rapid test that same day, but later that day. So 20 minutes later, as she's driving home, we get the phone call, hey,
don't come to work.
Don't come to work.
Don't come back.
Yeah, so you have COVID. And I was like, that means I have COVID because I have more symptoms than you do. And so for about 4 days, it felt like a bad flu. Now, I will say I've had the flu worse than this felt, but this was different in a lot of ways. When I had the flu, I was dizzy, had the head stuff. But this, there was a lot of I got up to just try and mow the lawn, which isn't hard. I have a push mower, but it's not difficult. I never have trouble with it. And I just did a little bit of it, and I was like, like I can't do this. Like I am winded, I am exhausted. And so we got one of those little blood oxygen things to put on your finger just in case.
Right.
And we were fine. We never got below even like 95. Right. But it was one of those things where like it really knocked both of us out. So if you stalk me on Facebook, you can find a picture of me and my wife and my son all sitting in separate lazy boy chair. Well, his is, I don't know what it is. It's a little
It's like
chair.
a rocker thing.
Yeah, it's a little rocker chair. And all sitting there with our blankets pulled up because we thought it was a funny picture. But
that was on her birthday, wasn't it?
yes, it was her birthday. So yes, my wife had COVID and we were quarantined for 2 weeks over her birthday. Yeah. So for her birthday, it was her birthday was like right on probably like day 4 before I started feeling a lot better. But day 4 was also when we started realizing we could taste and smell nothing.
Right.
The first way we realized that we could taste and smell nothing is that my son, relieved himself in his drawers. And so we usually can smell it. You walk in the room and you're like, oh, I need to change his diaper. Instead, he's walking around and everything. And I'm like, I haven't checked his diaper in, probably a half hour. I have no idea. And it's loaded. And I was like, neither one of us smelled that.
Whoa.
Like, that's weird. That is weird. So then, for her birthday, we're like, oh, here, you don't have to cook something. Let's order a pizza, because it's contactless. They can drop it off. And we told them when we ordered it, like, just leave it out on the driveway. We'll pay on the app, all that kind of stuff. But they drop off the pizza. We go out and get it. And we bite into the pizza. And the way that we described it, it's like eating solid water. Like, it had no flavor at all. It had texture, but that's it. And we're like, this is strange. So we actually did a taste test against each other where we like wore a mask and then the other person picked out 3 things from our kitchen for the other person to taste. I won because I could taste mashed potatoes for some weird reason. That was the only thing I could taste. But I could taste mashed potatoes and cheese. So yeah, my experience was that, and we had to then quarantine. We're locked in a house for 2 weeks. And I don't do well with that. I'm a hyper extrovert. I like being around people. So that was rough. Like sitting there in your house and like just being in your house in your yard for that long was really rough. But it was especially like we were trying especially hard to stick to all those rules because my grandparents are very much in the risk zone. Like sure. they are the folks that you really need to be worried about. And we were like, we cannot pass it. And her family as well. We're like, we cannot pass it to our family. Like we can't do this. So that was it. That was our story. And thankfully, once again, that was way back in the summer. So I was like, hey, the good thing is I've had it now.
Amen.
I've had it.
I said that as
and hopefully the 90-day immunity thing is
a minimum.
Is
yeah,
of 90
I will
days.
throw out there. I've actually been looking into it a lot. And what they are starting to say now, there's still some dispute about it, but what they're starting to say now is that after 90 days, your antibodies start to dissipate, but your body's ability to produce those antibodies is still there. So
yes.
you can still
Right.
you can still work on it. So, in other words, we should, Lord willing, we should be good. But the other cool thing is you can't transport it as well. So you can't get it and pass it if you've already had it near as well. But double check the CDC, that stuff for real. If you're listening to this in 2 weeks,
everything's still changing as we know it. So
if you listen to this in 2 weeks, all the data might be different. So look it up.
All right, and that brings it to me, the final person that had it, and I never actually officially got diagnosed. My wife did, and I was stuck beside her, and I ended up getting extremely sick. So I probably had it.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and say
I definitely had it. So mine is actually at the very end of July, beginning of August is whenever I had it. In fact, right whenever we got back to school, us having our back to school teacher meetings was that first week that I was allowed out of quarantine from having it.
Yeah.
In fact, I got tested the day of Mr. Massey and his wife's wedding because we were supposed to go to that, but we got forced into quarantine and could not go. And luckily we did because we didn't get our results back in pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I work at the Delta Center during the summer, and one of the people that I work close to in my department ended up getting tested, and we were waiting for her results to come back, and they hadn't come back yet. And if she had tested positive, the USDA and the University of Missouri, since we worked so close together, was going to force everybody in our little pod to go get tested to see if they needed to start seeing if more and more people at the center had it. Mm-hmm. And so we were waiting for her to get her test results back. And our neighbor had went out on a trip, and everybody on her trip had got tested positive. but she hadn't told us that she had tested positive or not, and she was just going around, walking around all willy-nilly like nothing was wrong. That Wednesday of that week, so that would have been like the 29th of July, just for about 5 minutes, she was walking her dog. We were out in the front yard just kind of enjoying the evening. We talked to her for about 3 minutes maybe outside, and we were not within social distance guidelines, but we figured we're outside. We're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
The next day, my wife finds out that she tested positive through another source that she had it, and she never told us that she tested positive. And my wife starts freaking out because we have a newborn. He was at this point in time maybe 5 months, maybe 4 months old at that point. Yeah, 4 months old, about to be 5 months old. And so we decided to start wearing masks around him as soon as we found out. And we went and got tested that Friday morning. I came home from work at the Delta Center. I took a half a day and came straight home. We debated whether or not we should get tested. We finally were like, all right, let's go get tested, because she had a sore throat and she was feeling some of the symptoms. And I was like, I might as well just get tested, just because if the coworker tested positive, I need to. If you test positive, I need to make sure at the Delta Center. Well, we go and get tested that Friday. She just continues to have kind of a sore throat and whatnot. We take each other's temperatures constantly. We never crack a fever. Throughout this whole process, I never cracked a fever.
Me either.
I'm the only fever one.
Yeah.
And when we finally get the results back on Tuesday, when the health department calls my wife to inform her that she has COVID, we got it from... we went and got tested at urgent care in Sykeston. They never called us with our results. They never called me and told me I was negative, because I tested negative originally.
Yeah, because you tested so early.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And then my wife ended up testing positive, and so we find out about that. So we continue to quarantine. She just continued to say that she felt like when she normally has a cold, just a little bit worse and whatnot. And I hadn't really started feeling it until about, I'd say, Wednesday of that week after I got tested is whenever I started to feel the symptoms, but they weren't super, super, super bad by that point until that Friday came around. I do not remember that weekend from Friday to about Sunday at all.
Wow.
I don't remember it all. Apparently, I slept most of the day Saturday. I was super pale to the point where my wife almost took me to the doctor on Sunday. And all I really ever had is that I felt like it was hard for me to breathe.
Yeah.
But most of the time, whenever I get a cold, because back when I was in 7th or 8th grade, I had walking pneumonia for a very long time. And so I just have things like mucus collect in my lungs whenever I get a cold anyway. And so that's just how I'm normally used to doing it and hacking stuff up. I just felt like I had pneumonia, I had junk in my lungs, and that's the only symptom I ever felt. And I was out of it for 2 days. I cannot remember a single thing. I was pale as a ghost, according to my wife. And yeah, I don't want to have it again, because I'm afraid what will happen if I catch it again.
Yeah. So that's the deal. Is for you, it was one symptom, but then the other symptom was it just completely knocked you out. And that's the thing. 3 different stories, 3 completely different symptom sets for the most part, all COVID, which is why this thing is such a weird virus. It attacks, always it's attacking the respiratory system, but just how it manifests itself differently. The other thing, just thrown out there, the reason that we wear these masks, yes, a lot of people are annoyed by them, myself included. I understand it's annoying, but if people had known and been wearing masks in the situation you described, having a conversation walking a dog probably wouldn't have transmitted.
Nope.
And so that's why it's important. Even though it does seem annoying, it can literally save people's lives and save people from passing this bug around. So as we are kind of we finished up our stories here, but do you guys have kind of a word for, as we're going forward here, we have been super blessed in that, we're here, we're doing school and all this, and people are following the regulations. We're cleaning in between every class, we're doing all this stuff, and that's been good. But I know people are getting annoyed by it. Do you guys have a word as far as, from your experience, as far as why you should keep following the CDC's directions for now?
Why we should keep following them?
Yes.
I go back to what I said. I do not want to have that again because I have no idea how it would. Like, that's the scary thing about this thing. Some people, you come through the thing perfectly fine. Some people don't even show any symptoms at all. They're completely asymptomatic. But there are those unlucky few that you just end up landing on 00 green on the roulette wheel, and it seriously messes you up.
Yeah.
And for those people, and the fact that it's so random whenever that hits, that's the reason why you need to continue these procedures and whatnot and plus it was just these procedures in any other time, like this is what we probably need to be doing during flu season to begin with. So these are things that probably need to stay in order for us to avoid these types of disease or these types of sicknesses and illnesses from proliferating. There, I finally got it out. Anyway, so yeah, we need to continue to do that just because it's good and solid hygiene.
Yeah, and be careful with this stuff. Understand that when we as teachers are telling you, yes, we have to clean every desk, be very careful about it. Yes, you have to keep your mask on. We're doing it because we care about you guys and we care about the community, and that's why, as a school, we are doing all of these precautions and why all these things are happening and why we have to have reduced numbers at games and all these things. I know a lot of people are kind of, like I said, getting annoyed with it, but it's for a reason. Like, we're doing this because we're trying to keep people safe. So we survived it, though.
We survived it. We survived it. Even though you went out of the bunker.
I did. We have to clarify.
Yeah, you're the one who brought it into the bunker to begin with.
If you guys
opened that door, and I was like, I guess I better just go home and check on my wife and child, and then I almost died. Thank you, Norm.
If you have not listened to back at the last podcast of the summer was one where we discussed
our last episode.
Yeah, our last episode before this one. We had been in the bunker. Go back and listen if you want to know. And Mr. Davidson informed you all listeners that I had left the bunker. I was quarantined.
That is the reason why. All right, but yes, I guess that's the end of this episode. If you enjoyed Miss Linda being on here, hopefully she could be willing enough to come on for a more regular, normal episode where the students will ask you suggestions and all that fun jazz.
Good times, guys.
We'll talk math and other student suggestions with you next time.
That's super.
Yeah, we'll talk your teaching career because you actually have a very interesting teaching career. You actually taught me math in 8th grade.
I was thinking that when you said about
Wait, I didn't know that.
Whenever you were talking about your pneumonia in 7th and 8th grade, I was like, oh, I was your teacher.
He had that.
Okay, yep. We definitely need another podcast because I want to hear these stories.
But we'll bring Miss Linda on again so y'all can have a proper suggestion episode with her. But until next time, my name's been Paul Davidson.
My name is, and Lord willing, will be Scott Norman.
And we've been the TDWG
podcast.